rain had been falling since morning, a soft, unending drizzle that soaked the red earth of our town and turned the narrow streets into streams of rust-colored water. Vendors had packed their goods under makeshift shelters, muttering about how the skies had decided to mourn. The air smelled of wet dust, roasted corn, and the faint perfume of hibiscus flowers carried by the wind. Amara Ease leaned against the window of her small tailoring shop, her chin resting on her palm, staring at the world beyond the glass. She was 24, graceful in a quiet way, her dark skin glowing softly in the dim light, her long lashes damp from the mist. Life hadn't been kind to her, but she wore her struggles like a second skin, comfortable, enduring, and invisible to those who only saw her smile. Her shop, Stitches of Grace, was her world. Every morning she would hum a tune her late mother used to sing, sweep the floor, and whisper a prayer before threading her needle. She had dreams, big dreams, but dreams were expensive, and in Aware, only the rich could afford them. That afternoon, as the rain thickened and thunder began to growl above the rooftops, a shadow crossed her doorway. The bell above the door jingled softly, and a tall figure stepped inside. He was drenched from head to toe, his white shirt clinging to a muscular frame, his hair dripping water down his face. His eyes, dark, deep, and strangely captivating, met hers. For a moment it felt as though time had frozen. "I'm sorry," he said in a deep, calm voice. "Do you mind if I wait out the rain here?" Amara blinked. "Oh, no, not at all. Please, come in." He stepped fully inside, closing the door gently behind him. The scent of rain and something faintly expensive, like imported cologne, filled the small shop. He removed his wristwatch carefully, placing it on the counter, and began squeezing water from his sleeves. "You can sit," Amara offered, pointing to a wooden chair near her sewing table. "Thank you," he replied, settling down with quiet elegance. "You're kind." Amara smiled shyly. "You look like you've been walking for hours." "Feels like it," he said, chuckling lightly. "I wasn't planning to get caught in the rain. My car broke down just before the junction." "Ah, the road there is bad," she said, shaking her head. "When it rains, it becomes a river." He laughed, a rich, deep sound that made her chest tighten slightly. "So I've noticed." There was silence for a while, the kind of silence that wasn't awkward, but full of unspoken thoughts. The rain continued its steady drumming against the roof, and the world outside blurred into gray. Amara busied herself with a piece of fabric, a bright yellow dress she was mending for a client. But she could feel his gaze on her. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was intense. "What's your name?" he asked suddenly. "Amara." He repeated it softly, like testing how it felt on his tongue. "Beautiful." "I'm Adrian," she echoed, nodding slightly. "You're not from around here, are you?" He smiled faintly. "No, I'm passing through. Looking for something, I guess. Looking for what?" He shrugged, eyes drifting to the rain outside. "Maybe peace, maybe purpose, maybe both." Amara didn't reply. She had met all kinds of men, loud traders, stingy customers, proud suitors, but none like him. There was something about Adrian that carried both sadness and mystery. His clothes spoke of wealth, yet his eyes carried loneliness. As the hours passed, they talked. About simple things at first. About Owere's endless rain, the noisy market, the stubborn goats that blocked the road every morning. But soon their words dug deeper, weaving threads of emotion neither had expected. "Do you ever feel," Adrian said, his voice almost a whisper, "like life put you in the wrong story?" Amara looked at him curiously. "What do you mean?" "Like you were born to do something great, but fate threw you somewhere else, and now you're trying to make sense of the script?" She smiled faintly. "Every day." He looked at her, studying her face. "And yet you seem content." "I'm not," she said softly, almost to herself, "but I pretend I am. Because pretending is easier than explaining." Their eyes met again, and something passed between them, something fragile, electric, and real. By evening, the rain had stopped. The world outside was washed clean, the sky glowing pink and gold. Adrian stood, adjusting his watch. "Thank you, Amara," he said, "for the warmth." For the company, she smiled. Anytime. You should fix your car before nightfall. He nodded, but instead of leaving immediately, he hesitated. Then he reached into his pocket and handed her a small white card. If you ever come to the city, he said, call me. I owe you coffee. She took it, glancing at the name printed neatly across it. Adrian Cole, CEO, Cole Holdings Limited. Her mouth parted slightly. Cole Holdings. She had heard that name before. They owned half the properties in the state, from hotels to construction firms. Before she could speak, he smiled again, his eyes soft. Don't look so surprised. I'm not as important as the card says. And then he was gone. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She turned the card over and over in her hands, the letters blurring in the moonlight. She wasn't sure why her heart was beating so fast. Maybe it was the mystery. Maybe it was his eyes. Or maybe it was the way he made her feel seen, for the first time in a long time. She placed the card under her pillow and whispered to herself, You're dreaming, Amara. But fate had just begun to stir. Days turned into weeks and life resumed its rhythm. Yet every time Amara passed the junction where the road curved toward the city, her thoughts strayed to Adrian. Sometimes she imagined him walking into her shop again. Sometimes she hated herself for hoping he would. Then one afternoon, a sleek black SUV stopped in front of her shop. The door opened and he stepped out. Amara froze, scissors in hand. Adrian? He smiled, slightly nervous this time. I told you I owed you coffee. Her heart leapt. They went to a small cafe near the old post office. It wasn't fancy, but Adrian didn't seem to mind. He watched her talk, laugh, and fumble shyly with her teacup. He told her about his company, his travels, his loneliness, and she told him about her mother, her struggles, her dreams of owning a bigger shop. You're special, Amara, he said quietly. You don't even know it. Her throat tightened. Don't say that. You don't know me. I think I do, he replied. You fix broken things, not just clothes, but people. She laughed softly. I wish someone would fix me. He reached across the table and touched her hand. Maybe someone already is. From that day, their worlds began to merge. Adrian would visit often, sometimes with coffee, sometimes just to sit and talk. The townspeople whispered, some with envy, some with curiosity. But Amara didn't care. They would walk by the riverside at dusk, their fingers brushing. He would tell her stories of boardrooms and cities. She would tell him stories of the market and laughter. Their worlds were different, yet their hearts found rhythm in the same silence. But love, as always, comes with shadows. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Amara asked, Adrian, why do you always look sad when you think I'm not looking? He sighed. Because there's something I haven't told you. Her smile faded. What is it? He looked away, jaw tightening. I'm engaged. The world around her seemed to stop. The air, the river, even the fading sun, all froze in that moment. Her lips trembled. Engaged? He nodded slowly. It was arranged years ago. My family, business, obligations. Then why? Her voice broke. Why come here? Why talk to me? Because you make me feel alive, Amara. His eyes glistened with desperation. You make me remember who I was before money, before pressure, before all this noise. Tears welled up in her eyes. You should have told me. I was afraid you'd walk away. I should, she whispered. I should. But she didn't. Weeks passed in silence. Adrian stopped coming. The air in Amara's shop grew heavy. Even the hum of her sewing machine felt lonely. Then one night she heard a knock on her door. When she opened it, he stood there, soaked again, but this time with tears instead of rain. Amara, he said, voice trembling, I ended it. The engagement. Everything. She stared at him, heart racing. Why? Because I can't live pretending anymore. I love you, her breath caught. You can't just throw everything away, your family, your company, because of me. I'm not throwing it away, he said softly. I'm choosing what matters. She wanted to resist, to protect herself, but her heart betrayed her. She stepped forward, and before words could form, his lips found hers. gentle, trembling, desperate. The world outside faded. The rain, the wind, the thunder, all melted into the warmth between them. It was the beginning of something beautiful, something dangerous. The morning after Adrian's confession, the sun rose gently over Ower, spreading gold across the soaked rooftops. The rain had finally stopped, but the world still glistened with the aftertaste of the storm. The air was crisp, cool, and full of the kind of silence that follows something earth-shaking. Amara stood by the window again, but this time her reflection felt different. Her heart was no longer hers alone. It had found a rhythm in another's chest. Yet even as joy fluttered beneath her ribs, fear shadowed every thought. Love like this, sudden, forbidden and fierce, could never exist quietly. When she finally opened her shop that morning, she found a small bouquet of lilies resting on the doorstep. A folded note was tied to it with a golden ribbon. For the woman who taught me that peace has a face. A. Amara pressed the flowers to her chest, tears threatening to spill. She wasn't used to being seen, to being cherished in a world that constantly reminded her of her smallness. But Adrian saw her, not as a poor tailor, not as a girl from the dusty corners of Aware, but as something precious. That day she worked with a smile. Even her clients noticed. Amara, your hands are lighter today, said Mame Joma, a regular customer, her eyes squinting suspiciously. Love is making you so straighter, eh? Amara laughed, brushing it off, but her heart warmed. That evening, Adrian came again. He parked a discreet black car near the back of her shop, away from curious eyes. He wore a dark jacket and a cap, like a man trying to hide from the world. I didn't want people talking, he said quietly as he stepped inside. They already are, she replied softly. But I don't care. He smiled and pulled her gently into his arms. For a long moment, the world ceased to matter. His heartbeat echoed against her ear. Strong, steady, real. I missed you, he whispered. I didn't know missing someone could hurt this much, she said. He pulled back slightly, studying her face. I don't deserve you, Amara. Then earn me, she replied simply. He smiled faintly, that smile that melted her defenses every time. Challenge accepted. In the weeks that followed, their love blossomed in secret. Adrian began spending weekends in Ower, under the guise of business expansion. He would bring her books, dresses, small gifts that made her laugh. But what Amara cherished most was not the gifts. It was the way he listened, the way he saw her. One night, as they sat outside watching fireflies dance above the damp grass, Amara asked, "What will happen when people find out about us?" Adrian sighed. They already suspect. My assistant hinted that my father might know something. Your father? He nodded. He's not understanding. He believes love should be strategic, something that adds to the family's name, not something that risks it. Amara looked down. Then what am I, Adrian? A risk? He took her hands in his. You're the reason I'm still human. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to drown in his promises. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered that their world was made of glass. One wrong move, and it would shatter. One Saturday morning, as Amara was hemming a wedding gown, her shop door burst open. Amara Ease! She froze. It was Mrs. Chioma, the wife of a wealthy businessman and one of Adrian's family friends. Her presence filled the room like thunder. Madam Chioma, Amara stammered. Good afternoon, Ma. Don't ma me, the woman snapped, slamming her handbag on the counter. Do you think we don't know? Do you think you can hide your shameless affair with Adrian Cole? The room went silent. Two other customers gasped. Amara's throat closed up. Please, it's not. Don't lie to me. Mrs. Chioma's eyes burned. Do you know who he is? Do you know what your nonsense will cost his family? You think you can trap him with your tears and poor girl charm? Tears burned Amara's eyes, but she stood tall. With all due respect, madam, I didn't trap anyone. Mrs. Chioma sneered. We'll see how long your pride lasts when the press finds out. Then she stormed out, slamming the door so hard that the bell above it snapped off and fell to the floor. Amara stood frozen. The whole world seemed to tilt. She didn't even realize she was crying until she saw the dark stains on her fabric. That evening, she called Adrian. He didn't pick up. She tried again. Still nothing. Hours later, a message appeared. Don't worry. I'll fix this. Trust me, but trust was fragile now. 3 days passed. The newspapers came first, then the whispers, then the insults. Rich man's toy. Village tailor turned temptress. Homebreaker. Everywhere she went, eyes followed her. Even her landlord began to avoid her gaze. Amara stopped opening her shop for 2 days. On the third, she found a note slipped under her door. Go back to your world, Amara. Leave him before he ruins you. Her hands trembled as she read it. That evening, she walked to the hill behind the town where she and Adrian used to meet. The sunset painted the sky in hues of sorrow and fire. When he finally arrived, she didn't turn to face him. You told me to trust you, she said quietly, but everything is falling apart. He stood behind her, guilt written all over his face. I didn't know it would get this bad. I tried to stop it. By doing what? Hiding me? By protecting you. She turned sharply. Protecting me by pretending I don't exist? He exhaled heavily. You don't understand my world, Amara. Then teach me, she said, tears streaking down her cheeks. Don't push me out of it. He ran his fingers through his hair, pacing. My father's threatening to cut me off. The board wants me to end this or resign. Everything I built is crumbling. She swallowed hard. So you'll leave me too? He looked up, broken, torn. I don't want to. But if I lose everything, how do I protect you? Her voice shook. Maybe I don't need your protection. Maybe I just need your honesty. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke them both. Then he whispered, Give me time. She turned away. Time doesn't heal lies, Adrian. It only deepens them. And with that, she walked down the hill, leaving him standing beneath the dying light. Days blurred into nights. The scandal grew. Social media was merciless. Photos of her were dug up, twisted, mocked. But Amara did not run. She kept her head high, her shop open. If the world wanted to break her, it would have to fight harder. Then one morning, a black SUV stopped again at her door. She stiffened, expecting Adrian. But it wasn't him. It was an older man, tall, broad-shouldered, with silver hair and eyes that commanded respect. Are you Amara Ease? He asked in a deep, smooth voice. Yes, sir. I am Robert Cole, he said, Adrian's father. Her heart nearly stopped. I came to make you an offer, he continued, his tone cold as marble. You leave my son. You disappear. In return, you'll receive 10 million naira. Amara blinked. Excuse me. You heard me. I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to end a mistake. She stepped back, trembling. Your son is not a mistake. He smiled faintly. He's a Cole. He was born for legacy, not love. Amara's anger flared. Then maybe that's why he's unhappy. Robert's expression hardened. Be careful, Miss Ease. You think love will save you? It never does. He dropped a brown envelope on her counter and turned to leave. She stared at it, the weight of humiliation pressing down on her chest. Then she picked it up and hurled it after him. Tell your son, she said, her voice shaking, that I don't need his father's money. I just needed his truth. That night, Amara sat in darkness, hugging her knees. The rain began again. Cruel, relentless. Suddenly, there was another knock on her door. She didn't move. Then she heard his voice. Amara, it's me. Please, open the door. Her chest tightened. Go away, Adrian. I can't. She rose slowly and opened it. He stood there soaked again, his face pale with exhaustion. My father came to see you, didn't he? She nodded, silent. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't know he'd go that far. Then maybe you don't know your world as much as you think, she said bitterly. He stepped closer. I'll fix this. I'll prove that you mean more than any empire. She stared at him through her tears. And if you can't, then I'll walk away from everything, he said, his voice trembling. I'll walk away for you. She didn't answer. He reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. Just don't give up on me yet. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she pulled him into an embrace that said everything words couldn't. Outside, thunder rumbled, but inside, two hearts fought the storm together. The next day, Adrian made good on his word. He called a press conference in the city. The cameras flashed as he stood before reporters, his voice steady. "Yes," he said, "I'm in love with Amara Ease. And no, I'm not ashamed." The news exploded. Half the city praised his courage. The other half called it madness. The board demanded his resignation. His father disowned him. But Adrian smiled through it all. For the first time, he felt free. When he drove back to Awer that night, Amara was waiting by the river. He walked up to her, eyes glistening. "I told the world about us." She looked at him, proud, scared, overwhelmed. "And now?" He smiled softly. "Now we start over." Together she threw her arms around him, tears mixing with laughter. For once, love had defied power, wealth, and fear. But as they would soon learn, every victory invites a new battle. Because sometimes even love born in truth must fight through fire before it finds peace. The city was never kind to those who defied its rules. For Adrian and Amara, the days that followed his public confession were a blur of noise, headlines, and endless judgment. Every newspaper carried their story. Every radio host dissected their love as if it were a scandalous riddle. Billionaire abandons family legacy for Taylor. Love or madness? Adrian Cole's fall from grace. Who is Amara Ease, the woman behind the uprising? Each headline felt like a dagger, yet Amara bore it silently. She knew the price of loving a man like Adrian, a man whose world was built on expectations and empire. But what she didn't expect was how deeply the shadows of his past would begin to creep into their fragile new world. They had moved to the city, a quiet apartment tucked away from prying eyes. Adrian had sold one of his sports cars to buy it, and Amara insisted on paying half the rent from her tailoring earnings, though it barely covered groceries. "I don't want to feel like a charity project," she said one evening, folding fabrics on their small table. He smiled, walking behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "You're not. You're the reason I wake up smiling." She leaned into him. "You'll regret leaving that big world of yours." He shook his head. "That world was empty. This," he kissed her shoulder, "is real." For a while it was bliss. Simple, quiet bliss. They'd wake early, make breakfast together, laugh over burnt toast and clumsy dancing. Amara started taking sewing orders from neighbors. Adrian began writing a proposal for a new business. Something small, independent, free from his family's empire. But happiness, they say, invites envy. One afternoon, as Amara returned from the market, she noticed a black car parked near their building. Two men sat inside, pretending not to watch her. She tried to ignore it, but unease crawled up her spine. When Adrian came home that evening, she mentioned it. He frowned. "They've been following me too. Probably from my father's security unit." "Your father?" she asked, eyes widening. "He's still watching us?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "He doesn't forgive easily." "He thinks I'll crawl back." Amara placed a hand on his chest. "Then we'll show him we don't break that easily." He smiled, but there was tension behind it. A storm that hadn't passed. The next week, Adrian received a letter, stamped and sealed with the Cole family crest. He opened it slowly, reading in silence. "What does it say?" Amara asked. He sighed. "He's cutting me off completely. No shares, no access, no inheritance." Amara's heart ached, but she said softly, "Then we start with what we have." He looked at her, eyes full of both love and disbelief. "You make it sound easy." "It's not," she said, "but I'd rather live poor and free than rich and imprisoned." He smiled faintly. "You're stronger than I am." "No," she whispered. "You just forgot who you were before the world told you who to be." That night, they lay together under the quiet hum of the ceiling fan, the city's distant lights flickering through the window. Adrian couldn't sleep. His mind raced with memories. Boardrooms, deals, his father's stern voice echoing. "Love doesn't build empires, Adrian. Discipline does." He turned toward Amara, sleeping peacefully beside him. And for a moment, he felt both peace and terror. Peace because she was his anchor. Terror because he feared losing her would destroy him completely. A few days later, Adrian met his old friend, Daniel, at a small cafe. Daniel had been his business partner once, loyal but cautious. "You're really doing this," Daniel said, stirring his coffee. Starting from scratch? Adrian nodded. I have to. I need something that's mine. Something honest. And her? The girl? Amara. The word alone made Adrian's lips soften. She's the best part of this. Daniel sighed. I hope you know what you're doing. The Coles are powerful, Adrian. Your father doesn't lose battles, and now you've given him one. I'm not fighting him, Adrian said quietly. I'm just choosing differently. Daniel leaned back. That's the same thing, my friend. Meanwhile, Amara's tailoring business began to grow. Women from the neighborhood adored her designs. Simple yet elegant. She became Madame Amara to the locals, respected for her humility and kindness. One afternoon, as she was sewing, a young woman walked into the shop. Tall, poised, and dressed in sleek designer wear. Can I help you? Amara asked politely. The woman smiled thinly. You're Amara Easy? Yes. I'm Vivian Cole, the woman said. Adrian's fiancé, or rather former fiancé. The world tilted for a moment. Amara froze. I didn't know you'd exist, Vivian finished sharply. Oh, I exist. And unlike you, I belong to his world. Amara stood quietly. If you came to insult me, I won't stop you. But if you came to understand him, you should know he's happier now. Vivian laughed. A short, cold sound. Happier? You think this will last? You don't know him, Amara. Adrian loves the idea of rebellion, not the reality of it. Her words sliced like glass. I've known him since childhood, Vivian continued. He always chases what he can't have. You're just his latest escape. Amara's fingers clenched. You can believe what you want. But I didn't take him from you. He chose. Vivian's eyes hardened. He'll regret that choice. And when he does, don't say I didn't warn you. She turned and walked out, leaving the faint scent of expensive perfume and poison in the air. That night, Amara said nothing about the encounter, but her silence spoke louder than words. Adrian noticed. Something's wrong. Tell me, she hesitated. Vivian came to see me. He froze. What? She said you'd regret choosing me. He rubbed his temples. I'm sorry. She shouldn't have. She's right about one thing, Amara interrupted softly. You did leave everything for me. What if someday you wake up and realize I wasn't worth it? He turned her gently toward him. Then I'll spend the rest of my life proving I was right. She wanted to believe him. And she did, for now. Months passed. Life found rhythm again. Adrian's new company, VerityWorks, began to take shape. A small startup focused on ethical construction and community housing. Investors were cautious, but Adrian was relentless. Amara supported him every step. She cooked, sewed, stayed up late editing his presentations, dreaming with him. But as the business grew, so did the pressure. Bills mounted, deadlines loomed, and slowly the cracks began to show. One night after another investor backed out, Adrian slammed his laptop shut. They don't take me seriously anymore. Not without the Cole name. Amara touched his shoulder. You don't need that name. You've got talent, Adrian. He pulled away. Talent doesn't pay rent, Amara. Her chest tightened. You're not the only one struggling. I'm trying too. He looked at her, weary, angry, lost. I didn't mean... I know, she said quietly, but it still hurts. They sat in silence, the room heavy with exhaustion. The next morning, Adrian apologized. He bought her breakfast, kissed her forehead, whispered, I'm sorry, love. She smiled weakly, but deep inside a seed of fear had been planted. Fear that love might not survive the weight of survival. Weeks later, tragedy struck. Adrian received a call at dawn. Daniel, his friend, his former partner, had died in a car crash. He went pale. He was supposed to meet me tomorrow. Amara held him as he trembled, the loss cutting deep. But when the police report came out, something strange emerged. Daniel's car had been tampered with. Adrian's blood ran cold. This wasn't an accident. Who would do that? Amara whispered. He looked up, his eyes darkening. My father. The realization hit them both like lightning. Robert Cole had always been ruthless in business, But to orchestrate something so cruel, Adrian didn't want to believe it, yet everything pointed that way. He went to confront him. "Father," he said, standing in Robert's marble office, voice trembling with rage. "Was it you?" Robert didn't look surprised. Daniel should have stayed out of things he didn't understand. "So it was you?" Robert's eyes hardened. "You made me do this, Adrian. You betrayed the family. You shamed the name I built. You think I'll let you destroy everything?" Adrian's voice cracked. "You already did. Leave before I call security," his father said coldly. Adrian walked out, broken, hollow, but burning with purpose. That night he told Amara everything. She listened in silence, tears in her eyes. "You can't fight him like this. He'll destroy you." Adrian took her hands. "Then let him try. I've lived in his shadow too long. I won't let fear win again." "But what if he hurts you?" He smiled faintly. "Then at least I fought for something that mattered." She rested her forehead against his. "Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise," he whispered. The following months were war. Robert used every connection to ruin Adrian. Canceled contracts, blacklisted partners, froze bank accounts. But through it all, Amara stood beside him. She worked double hours, took more sewing jobs, sold her gold earrings just to buy groceries. Their love became both shield and wound. Beautiful, painful, enduring. Then one evening, as they sat together after another long day, Adrian looked at her and said, "When this is over, I'll marry you." Tears filled her eyes. "Promise?" He nodded. "Even if it means we marry under the rain again." She smiled through tears. "Then let it rain forever." But fate had one more twist waiting. The next morning, Amara received a letter. No name, no sender. Inside was a single photograph. Adrian was sitting in a restaurant, wrapping the city in a loneliness that echoed the silence inside Amara's chest. She sat by the window of her small apartment, the same spot she had sat for 3 months straight, staring at the twinkling lights outside that reminded her of the promises Keon once made. The rain whispered against the glass, as if the heavens themselves mourned for her. Life after Keon felt like breathing through water, possible, but only barely. Every heartbeat reminded her of him. Every morning carried his name like an echo that refused to fade. She had tried to erase him from her mind, deleted his messages, blocked his number, avoided every cafe and park they'd once shared. But love, once it burrowed deep, never truly left. It only slept, waiting for a memory to wake it. Amara's phone buzzed softly on the table beside her. She glanced at it without interest. Just another reminder from her manager about the upcoming charity gala. Her design company, Maravi Designs, had somehow grown faster than she could believe. Ironically, her heartbreak had fueled her creativity. Each design she made now carried the essence of something lost and beautiful. Her clothes had become metaphors for her, fragile yet unbreakable, scarred yet still shining. But tonight, her heart wasn't in fashion. It was in the past. She remembered the last words Keon had said before walking away. "I need to fix myself before I can love you the way you deserve." A noble lie. Or maybe, just maybe, a painful truth. Outside, thunder cracked across the sky. She closed her eyes, whispering to the darkness, "Why did you leave when love was all we had left?" Far across the city, Keon stood on the balcony of a penthouse that overlooked the same rain-soaked streets. He had thought success would fill the emptiness inside him. He had thought walking away from Amara was the right thing to do, that by saving her from the chaos of his world, he was being noble. But every night, when silence settled and the city's pulse slowed, her laughter haunted him. His assistant had just left, leaving him alone with the lingering scent of coffee and business papers. His company had expanded into 3 new regions, his name printed on every magazine that once ignored him. But none of it mattered. The applause was loud, but it couldn't drown out the sound of her voice saying, "You could have just trusted me." He walked back inside, eyes lingering on the picture still on his desk, the one of Amara, smiling under the sunlight, wind brushing her hair. He had promised himself he'd throw it away, but every time he tried, his hands betrayed him. Instead, he'd just stare at it and whisper, "I'm not done loving you." The world moved on, but love, that stubborn ghost, refused to die. It was at the charity gala that fate decided to twist the knife. Amara arrived dressed in an elegant emerald gown, her designs glowing under the chandelier lights. She had become a symbol of strength, the woman who rose from heartbreak to empire. Reporters swarmed, photographers flashed, and investors praised her vision. Yet beneath the grace in her eyes, something ached quietly. And then, she saw him. Kian walked in like a storm wrapped in calm. His black suit molded to him perfectly, his confident stride commanding the room. Conversations paused. Even the music seemed to hesitate. Their eyes met across the hall. One heartbeat, then another. Then the world fell away. Amara froze. For a moment, time ceased to exist. He looked different, sharper, more guarded, yet heartbreakingly familiar. She wanted to look away, but her heart refused. He moved toward her slowly, each step heavy with memories neither of them had dared to revisit. "Amara," he said softly when he reached her. Her lips parted. "Kian." The air between them trembled, alive with everything left unsaid. They ended up outside on the terrace, away from the flashing cameras and the curious stares. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick with tension. "You look different," Kian said, his voice low. "Stronger." "I had to be," she replied, her tone cold but trembling slightly. "You left me with no choice." He nodded, guilt shadowing his features. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want you to suffer because of me." "Then you shouldn't have made me love you," she whispered. "You can't give someone the world and then decide they're safer without it." Kian's eyes softened. "I'm sorry, Amara. Every day I regret it." "Regret doesn't fix broken things," she said, looking away. "It just reminds you that they were once whole." He took a step closer. "Then let me try to fix it." She looked up sharply. "You can't." "Please," he said. "Just let me talk. One night. That's all I ask." Amara hesitated. Her mind said no, but her heart was already remembering how it felt to be loved by him. Against her better judgment, she nodded. They met again, too. The first dawn after Kian's recovery was gentle, painted in muted gold. Amara watched the sunlight drift through the curtains, landing softly across his face as he slept beside her. His breathing was calm, steady, each rise and fall of his chest a quiet miracle. She reached out, tracing the faint line of his jaw, remembering the months she had spent without this warmth. Every scar, every moment of pain had led them here, to this stillness and this fragile peace. Yet a whisper of fear lingered deep within her heart, the fear of losing him again. Kian stirred, opening his eyes. "You're staring," he murmured, a sleepy smile curling his lips. "I was making sure you're real," she said softly. He reached for her hand. "I'm real. I'm not going anywhere again." Amara smiled, but her heart hesitated. Love had returned, but with it came the haunting awareness that happiness was never permanent. Still, she clung to the moment. "Then let's make today count," she said. And they did. They spent the morning walking through the quiet streets of the city. No chauffeur, no cameras, no disguises. Just two souls rediscovering simplicity. Kian bought her breakfast from a roadside vendor, the same kind of food she used to eat when she could barely afford bus fare. She laughed as he tried to balance a paper cup of tea and hot buns at the same time. "Don't laugh at me," he protested, his grin wide. "I can't help it," she said, giggling. The mighty Kian, CEO of Kiaros Group, struggling with street breakfast. He leaned closer. "Maybe I just needed someone to remind me that I'm human again." For the first time in years, Kian felt light. The weight of power, fame, and expectations slipped away. All that remained was her laughter. the one sound that could heal even his darkest nights. Later that day, they visited his mother in the countryside, a quiet village where time seemed to pause. Kian's mother, a gentle woman with wise eyes, greeted Amara with open arms. "My son told me everything," she said warmly. "Thank you for bringing him back to life." Amara smiled shyly. "He brought me back too." The old woman studied her for a long moment, then nodded knowingly. "Real love does that. It resurrects what the world tries to bury." They stayed through the afternoon, sitting beneath mango trees, talking about dreams and forgiveness. Amara noticed the softness in Kian's eyes whenever he looked at his mother, the same gentleness that once made her fall for him. For the first time, she saw the boy he used to be, not the powerful man the world had turned him into. That evening, as the sun dipped low, his mother took Amara's hand. "Whatever comes," she said, "don't let fear steal your tomorrows." Those words would later echo louder than either of them could imagine. Weeks turned into months. Their love blossomed again, deeper and wiser than before. They built a rhythm: morning coffees, shared projects, whispered confessions in the dark. Amara's fashion line expanded internationally, and Kian's business empire stabilized under his renewed leadership. To the world, they were unstoppable. But behind closed doors, Kian fought a quiet war against time. The doctors had warned him. Even with treatment, the heart can only take so much. He had been careful: the medication, the diet, the rest. But the human heart is unpredictable. And though his health had improved, there were nights when the pain returned, sharp and merciless. He hid it from Amara, not out of pride, but out of love. He wanted her to live fully, not watch him fade piece by piece. One evening, they stood on the balcony of their new home overlooking the ocean. The wind carried the scent of salt and rain. Amara leaned into his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady but faintly irregular. "I love this sound," she said softly. He kissed her hair. "And I love that you listen to it." "I always will," she said, "even when we're old and wrinkled." Kian smiled faintly. "Then promise me something." "Anything. Promise me that if one day I'm not here, you'll still live. You'll still love. You'll still chase the sunrise." Her smile faded. "Don't talk like that." "I just need to hear you say it," he whispered. She looked up at him, eyes wet. "I promise," she said, "but you're not going anywhere." He smiled again, hiding the shadow of pain beneath his calm. The next few months were a golden season. They traveled, laughed, built a foundation for children they planned to have someday. But fate, relentless as ever, waited quietly in the wings. One cold morning, Amara woke to find him on the floor beside the bed, clutching his chest. Her scream shattered the stillness. "Kian, stay with me." He tried to speak, but no sound came. His eyes searched for her as the world dimmed around him. The ambulance came, the sirens wailed, and once again she found herself in the sterile white.